I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
It's very romantic. There's a true romantic in that.
There is.
And you said yes, obviously.
Of course.
The cameras clicked, but no one expected what they saw Princess Catherine wearing Diana's jewelry in public. And Queen Camilla? She was not amused. The moment Catherine stepped out, adorned with that unmistakable sapphire ring and the delicate drop earrings once cherished by the late Princess of Wales, the air shifted. Gasps echoed across the country, not from scandal, but from memory. That sapphire, bold and blue, wasn't just a stone, it was a ghost. A piece of the past, worn in defiance. Or devotion, no one could quite tell. Within hours, media outlets exploded with headlines, each one more dramatic than the last. "Diana lives again," some wrote. Others asked the question everyone was thinking, but too afraid to say, was this a calculated move? Was Catherine reviving a legacy? Or issuing a silent challenge to the very heart of the royal institution? To those watching from the outside, it looked elegant, poised, even graceful. But to insiders, the message was deafening. This was not just jewelry. This was symbolism, and it pierced deeper than anyone imagined. Public reaction was immediate. Social media ignited with admiration, mourning, nostalgia, and awe. Comparisons to Diana surged once again, as if the nation had been waiting for someone to bring back that lost magic. And here was Catherine, standing in the spotlight, with a calm so commanding it silenced the noise around her. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Every shimmer from the sapphire was a whisper from the past, a quiet reminder that some legacies don't die, they evolve. But while the public marveled at the elegance of it all, and the media spun tales of love, loss, and rebirth, not everyone was celebrating. Because while Diana's memory was rising like a tide, someone else's sense of power was beginning to slip beneath the surface. And no one felt it more sharply than the woman now called Queen. But inside the palace walls, a storm was already brewing, and it had everything to do with Camilla. The Queen's smile in public masked a very different truth. Behind the palace curtains, Camilla was shattered. As cameras captured Catherine glowing beneath the weight of Diana's legacy, Camilla was pacing alone behind closed doors, her hands trembling, her thoughts spiraling. She hadn't been warned. Not by Charles, not by anyone. The jewels, those sacred relics of a woman who haunted her every public moment, had been handed over in silence. And in that silence, Camilla heard something louder than any confrontation: betrayal. She had fought tooth and nail to claw her way into public acceptance. She endured years of scorn, whispers, and cold stares. And now, just when she thought she had secured her place, finally crowned, finally recognized, everything unraveled with a single public appearance. It was as if Diana had returned from the grave, and with her, all the painful comparisons that Camilla had tried so hard to bury. The press didn't hesitate. Headlines didn't soften. If anything, they sharpened the contrast. Catherine, graceful and beloved. Camilla, overshadowed and aging. That was the narrative now. One Camilla had no power to control. She felt blindsided, not only by her husband, but by history itself. Charles, who once kept those jewels hidden as if they were too precious to touch, had given them away. To Catherine, to Diana's mirror. And once again, Camilla was the other. Woman forgotten, resented, and eclipsed. Old wounds split open. The years she spent being ridiculed as the reason for Diana's heartbreak, the way she was painted as an intruder in a fairy tale marriage, it all came rushing back. And now, the woman she had tried to guide quietly into the royal mold had become something far more dangerous. Adored. Catherine wasn't seeking to replace Diana, but her presence, the ease with which she earned affection, was enough to reignite public mourning. Not just for Diana, but for everything Camilla had never been. The public didn't want another queen. They wanted their queen, the one who never truly left. And Catherine, with every subtle smile and thoughtful gesture, had become the embodiment of that memory. Camilla stood alone in her palace suite, the crown heavy on her head, but the silence even heavier. She was queen by title, but Catherine had become Queen of Hearts. and no ceremony could change that. She realized, perhaps too late, that admiration can't be claimed, it must be earned. And no matter how far she had come, Diana's shadow would always stretch longer, especially now, when Catherine was learning how to wear it like light. But what exactly were these jewels, and why did they hit such a deep nerve? One ring, 12 carats of sapphire, and a sea of memory. It was Diana's heart set in stone. It wasn't chosen by royal advisors or selected from a curated collection. It was Diana's personal choice, made with the wide-eyed hope of a young bride who believed love could conquer legacy. The deep blue gem, encircled by 14 diamonds and set in 18-carat white gold, was more than a stunning engagement ring. It was a declaration. Diana had picked it from a catalog, not a royal vault. That act alone shattered centuries of royal tradition, and it marked the beginning of a life lived not by royal rules, but by raw, unfiltered emotion. The world watched that ring become the symbol of a fairy tale. And then, they watched it become a relic of heartbreak. From wedding day bliss to the final days of a fractured marriage, the sapphire stood witness to it all. When Diana passed, the ring disappeared, tucked away in grief, wrapped in silence. But it wasn't forgotten. Years later, when Prince William knelt with trembling hands to propose to Catherine, he did so with that very ring. It wasn't just an engagement, it was a resurrection. William once said that giving the ring to Catherine meant his mother wouldn't miss out on the joy of their moment. But it went deeper. By choosing that ring, he wasn't just honoring Diana, he was binding Catherine to her. And Catherine, fully aware of what it meant, accepted not just the proposal, but the weight of history that came with it. Every time she lifts her hand, the ring glows like a memory, bright, solemn, unforgettable. It's not simply jewelry. It's a symbol of what was lost and what could be reclaimed. It carries a sorrow that never quite fades, but also a hope that refuses to die. It tells the story of a woman who tried to reshape the crown and another who now walks that same tightrope with a different kind of grace. The sapphire doesn't sparkle with innocence anymore. It pulses with legacy. Catherine doesn't just wear it, she protects it, embodies it, elevates it. In that circle of gold lies a circle of pain, love, and rebirth. William's decision to pass the ring on was more than sentimental. It was a bridge, a quiet gesture that connected the broken past with a more hopeful future. And now, when the light catches that gem just right, it's not Diana's shadow we see, it's her spirit, carried forward through Catherine's calm resolve and steady presence. The ring changed royal history not just once, but twice. First, when Diana chose it. Then, when Catherine wore it with a purpose all her own. But this wasn't the only jewel Catherine inherited, and each piece told a story even more powerful. They were small, but powerful pieces Diana once wore, now brought back to life by Catherine. Unlike the dazzling sapphire ring that commanded attention, these treasures worked quietly, almost silently, yet with unimaginable force. Each one, chosen deliberately, carried the scent of memory and the weight of a legacy too vast to measure. These were not just accessories, they were coded messages stitched into the fabric of monarchy and mourning, grace and grief. The Collingwood pearl earrings told one such story. Gifted to Diana on the eve of her wedding, they were simple, elegant, and pure, just like the public image she embodied in those early days. They became her signature in many ways, soft drops of light that followed her through state visits, hospital corridors, and tear-filled crowds. And then one day, decades later, they appeared again, this time on Catherine, in her official 40th Eid. On a birthday portrait, the earrings returned with a subtle power that startled even the most seasoned royal watchers. It was not just a fashion choice. It was a declaration that Diana's warmth had not faded, it had simply changed hands. Then came the 3-row pearl bracelet. It was once seen on Diana's wrist during a fundraiser for Birthright, a charity supporting mothers and children. She didn't just wear it to dazzle, she wore it to comfort. It sparkled not under chandeliers, but in the glow of service. And when Catherine wore that same bracelet during a royal tour in Jamaica, it was more than a repeat, it was a continuation. It was her way of walking the same path, but leaving her own footprints. The pearls, like the stories they carried, glowed anew under the Caribbean sun. But perhaps the most historically loaded symbol of all was the Prince of Wales' feather brooch. Crafted in diamonds and crowned with an emerald, it first graced Queen Alexandra in 1863, from queen to princess to queen. Again, it passed through the generations like a whisper of duty and dignity. Diana wore it during her tenure as Princess of Wales, a subtle reminder of her role within a family that both embraced and isolated her. Now, as Catherine pins it to her chest, the message is profound. She is not just stepping into a title, she is stepping into history, with grace, not grandeur. Each of these pieces, the earrings, the bracelet, the brooch, are fragments of a much larger story. They link women separated by time, but bound by expectation. Diana wore them in the face of vulnerability. Catherine wears them with calm strength. And in doing so, she isn't just preserving a legacy, she's reviving it. Not in mimicry, but in motion. Her every choice is deliberate. Her every appearance echoes a memory. There is no need for Catherine to shout. These pieces speak for her. They honor, they connect, and above all, they endure. In her hands, memory becomes modern. In her silence, symbols roar louder than any speech. But one dramatic jewelry decision shocked even royal insiders. She finally became queen, but the crown came with ghosts Camilla couldn't shake. For decades, she waited, endured, and withstood the public's relentless judgment. From whispered scandals to front-page scandals, Camilla climbed her way toward legitimacy. But now, standing at the summit of her ambition, she finds herself engulfed not in celebration, but in shadow. Diana's shadow. It is everywhere, in the hearts of the people, in the headlines that refuse to forget, and most painfully, in the quiet reverence that Catherine now commands. What should have been a moment of triumph feels more like a haunting, because the one thing Camilla could never wear, no matter how many jewels adorned her crown, was the effortless love Diana once held. And now, that love seems to be returning, just not for her. Despite the titles, the ceremonies, and the portraits, Camilla has never been fully embraced. The public sees her not as a beloved monarch, but as a tolerated figure. Warmth, affection, admiration, those things continue to orbit around Catherine, whose every gesture is met with grace, and whose silence speaks louder than Camilla's carefully crafted words. It is not jealousy that eats away at Camilla, it is the realization that love, the real kind, cannot be orchestrated. Diana never asked for it. She earned it. Catherine never demanded it. She lives it. But Camilla, after all these years, still finds herself on the outside, looking in. Every public appearance becomes a silent comparison. Every wave, every smile, every outfit is measured against memories that never fade. The public does not forget, and Camilla knows it. She has become the symbol of a monarchy that endured scandal, not of one that inspires dreams. The people do not cheer for her with the same emotion. Their hearts were claimed long ago, and those hearts now beat louder for Catherine not because of her title, but because of what she represents. Grace without effort, strength without arrogance, and a kind of dignity that does not need to be announced. Behind the smiles lies a truth Camilla cannot outrun. The palace may appear united, but behind the scenes is a different reality, one woven with power struggles, quiet resentment, and a looming sense that her reign is not as stable as it appears. Camilla sees it in the way Charles defers to William. She feels it in the subtle shift when Catherine enters the room. She recognizes that time is not on her side, and that history may not remember her for what she became, but for what she could never be. Not the people's princess, not the future queen they long for, just a chapter the monarchy had to pass through. But the differences between the two women go deeper than public image. They reflect two different visions of royalty. Titles can be given, but respect must be earned, and not everyone wears their crown the same way. In the palace halls where diamonds shimmer and ancient walls hold centuries of secrets, two women stand under the same roof, each wearing a crown, but only one carrying its weight with ease. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, never chased the spotlight. It followed her naturally. Her grace, steady as a heartbeat, resonates with a public desperate for authenticity. She speaks when it matters, listens more often than not, and carries herself with a calm assurance that makes people feel safe. Whether she is championing mental health, embracing her children in public, or stepping out in recycled gowns, Catherine's strength comes not from grand gestures, but from her quiet constancy. Camilla, by contrast, has always struggled to fit the mold she so desperately longed to occupy. Her posture may be royal, but her presence remains uncertain. There is a stiffness in her smile, a formality in her tone, as though she is still trying to convince the world that she belongs. But the truth is harder to swallow. Many do not believe she does. The public has not forgotten the past, and they have not forgiven it either. The whispers, the scandals, the role she played in Diana's heartbreak. Those shadows cling to her, no matter how many years have passed or how many titles have been bestowed. Catherine never had to fight for love. It came to her in waves. From her early days as William's girlfriend to her current role as the mother of a future king, she has walked each step with authenticity. She embodies the modern monarchy not as an institution of power, but as a symbol of connection. She kneels beside children. She grieves with families. She listens to victims. And in doing so, she bridges the gap between crown and commoner. Camilla, meanwhile, often looks as though she is playing a part in a script she did not write and does not fully understand. Her attempts to mirror royalty come across as rehearsed, her gestures overly deliberate. Where Catherine flows, Camilla performs. It is this contrast that fuels an unspoken truth. The public already sees Catherine as the true queen-in-waiting, not just by lineage, but by spirit. Camilla, for all her titles, feels like a placeholder, someone holding a seat warm until the rightful occupant arrives. And with each passing appearance, the difference becomes harder to ignore. One woman is rising, not by force, but by merit. The other is receding, not from lack of effort, but from lack of connection. And with every passing day, one woman grows stronger, while the other fades quietly into the background. They're not just jewels, they're stories. And Catherine has become their living narrator. Each earring, each brooch, each strand of pearl is more than metal and stone. It is a voice from the past, echoing into the present through the woman now trusted to wear them. In Catherine's hands, these relics are not frozen in memory. They are alive, breathing with purpose. She does not wear them to mimic Diana. She wears them to honor her, to carry her legacy forward in a world that is hungry for authenticity. Every choice she makes, every time she selects one of Diana's iconic pieces, she does so with intention. It's not about fashion. It's about message. Strength can be silent. Legacy can be worn. What Catherine has done is rare. She has managed to walk a line few could survive, carrying the memory of a beloved princess without being crushed by the weight of it. She does not perform as Diana. She does not compete with her image. She understands that the greatest tribute is not imitation, but evolution. Diana was the original light. Catherine is its continuation, reshaped for a new era. Through her, the story grows, deepens, and becomes something richer. The jewels she wears have stopped being heirlooms. They are now declarations of grace, of continuity, of strength passed from one woman to another across time. Camilla's discomfort is real, but it's not just about Catherine. It's about legacy. It's about what gets remembered and what gets rewritten. While Catherine seamlessly steps into a role shaped by empathy and public love, Camilla finds herself in a silent struggle for belonging. She wears a crown that feels cold, a title that feels conditional. Catherine, on the other hand, doesn't have to ask for admiration, it follows her. Not because of jewels, but because of the spirit she brings to them. She transforms them from royal accessories into emotional touchstones, and the public responds, not with applause, but with affection. That's what separates the two. One wears history, the other lives it. Jewelry in the royal family has always been more than beauty. It is identity, it is power, and now it is a battlefield where memory and monarchy collide. In this quiet war, Catherine has already won, not by fighting, but by feeling. She lets the past speak, and the world listens. Diana is not forgotten. Through Catherine, she's remembered differently, gently, powerfully, and purposefully. And every time the light catches those familiar pearls or sapphires, a new story is told. One not of loss, but of legacy reborn. And so, as the royal spotlight shifts, we're left asking what really makes a queen, a crown, or the people's heart. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.